Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK Journey video. In this video, we're going to be showing you the craziest team I've ever seen for the Dethanial boss. We're on Old Grey Gamer's account. He got over 100 billion damage with this team. And it is taking advantage of the Lightbearer combo with two buff tiles. One given to Rowan, because then Rowan can cast his ultimate to generate energy for your team. And then his shadow version will also cast the ultimate, generating more energy for the team, allowing you to pretty much consistently cycle your ultimates so quickly. The other buff tile is going to be on Corrin, so that he can cast his ultimate multiple times in the fight, increasing his damage. But most importantly, the thing is, Corrin has this ability, his Mythic Plus Vine Arms. When Corrin and allies within 2 tiles cast their ultimates 3 times in total, Corrin's arms feel nature's power and enchant his spear, dealing additional true damage equal to this amount of the maximum HP. So the faster you can cycle your ultimates, the faster you can keep applying him with this true damage buff, and it becomes then insane how much damage he can deal. Like, especially against boss enemies, the true damage is the way you want to shred through them. And the fact that you have Rowan for the massive energy generation for your team, you're casting ultimates so quickly, he's pretty much permanently charged up with the true damage on his attacks. The other thing is, Elsa is a hero that she will reduce her energy required to cast her ultimate with one of her abilities. It is over here. Reduces the energy cost to 400 when the Vigorous Slam buff is stacked to its maximum. So just one energy boost of Rowan's ultimate is enough to get up to the 400 energy threshold, and Elsa can cast her ultimate. So Elsa, Rowan, basically they're here to stack up ultimates, cast them so frequently to increase Corrin's damage from his true damage, as well as also increasing Elsa's overall damage output from her ultimate. 10 billion is not a bad damage output as well. And then the final hero just has to be another Lightbearer hero who is going to give you the faction buff tiles. Also, you're going to need to have at least 17 faction talents in order to unlock the bonus buff tile, because you'll want one for Rowan and one for Corrin. But really, if you had to choose, I would still probably give it to Rowan alone if you just have one faction buff tile, because he's the one who's going to be cycling the ultimate so quickly. Smokey is just here for the attack and haste buff to empower the Corrin's damage. And Cassidy, I think, yeah, she could be replaced. He's planning to replace Cassidy with Valen tomorrow, potentially. And, but she empowers, like, the normal attacks on your team, causing them to deal increased magical damage. But that is not the major damage source. It's really all from Corrin's true damage and ultimate casting. Okay, so let's watch this replay. It is crazy. So look at this. We're 3 seconds into the match. Rowan is about to cast. He casts his first ultimate 5 seconds into the match, and pretty much the whole team is at their full energy. And now the Shadow Rowan is coming in to cast the ultimate. And the crazy thing is, the Shadow Rowan will boost the energy of the main Rowan himself. And so they're going back and forth. The main Rowan gets to cast again. Now Shadow Rowan is casting again, giving the main Rowan enough energy to cast again. And it's like every 2 or 3 seconds, there's a Rowan energy generation. A Rowan ultimate, basically. Corrin also has the resonating spell, because that increases his damage and allows him to cast his ultimates faster. And Elsa is really, yeah, Elsa is a key member here because of the fact that her energy threshold to cast her ultimate is reduced when she has the maximum Vigorous Slam stacks. And like, look at this. Elsa is just rolling back and forth every 2 seconds, casting her ultimate, and this is empowering the damage from Corrin, causing him to deal his true damage, because nearby allies, they're all grouped up together. So definitely within 2 or 3 tiles, there are a lot of ultimates being casted. The other thing is that Rowan gives energy to grouped up teams. Like, he cannot give energy to the whole map. So if your team is grouped up like this, all of them are going to get the benefit of the Rowan ultimate. And now, like, look at this. It's crazy. It's just cycling like madness. And it's only at 28 billion damage right now, but 40 seconds left, and watch what happens. There are some burst attacks from the Corrin that deal like over 5 billion damage from a single attack. If you just keep watching the score meter, it becomes really crazy. So Elsa bouncing back and forth, Smokey just for the attack and haste buff, and also a good factional synergy, 2 Maulers, 3 Lightbearers. Look at the energy generation from the Roans. Yeah, Cassidy is probably the most replaceable. I wonder, he thinks Valen is going to be better. Valen can help clear the summons a little bit faster than Cassidy, so maybe that would be the reason to be using Valen. Okay, 63 billion damage. But look at this, just continuous casting. So the Lightbearer double buff tile, this is also going to like give us an idea of what to expect for the rest of the season. Whoa, there was a big burst there from like I think 69 to 76 billion damage. But I'm expecting if there are more bosses or more game modes where you can use the talent buff tiles, that Lightbearers are not going to be a bad option. Because for the maximum damage output, Lightbearers are kind of shining. The only thing with Lightbearers is that you need to be able to survive for long enough, and like the team is not very tanky, and it's only because this boss doesn't deal that much damage that we were able to pull off a team like this. Like for example, if we tried to take the same team into talent stages, it wouldn't work because we're at like a high level deficit. All Great Gamer pushes really actively, like already at 729 AFK stage progress, or even using the optimal teams, we would not be able to clear the stage. So definitely with the Lightbearers, they're just gonna die and not be effective, because you need to survive for long enough to get the value from this. But if you're in a stage where you just want to maximize your damage, like even the Primal Lord that will be coming out, I'm not sure whether buff tiles are going to be active for the Primal Lord, but if they are, then it really puts you, like, makes you consider, are Lightbearers going to be one of the greatest options? Now, if you want to get the 2 buff tiles for Lightbearers, you can do it the same way as Wilders. Basically running a formation like this, just leveling up one side of the tree. And you don't even have to upgrade this buff tile. But, yeah, you don't have to upgrade this. The other advantage of Corrin on the buff tile is that both him and his shadow deal the damage from his ultimate, which is pretty decent damage. But I think a lot of it comes from his true damage as well, by casting so many ultimates from all of his allies and his team. So if you want to upgrade to the Lightbearer 2 tiles, you'll have to do all 10 of the previous stage, and then you can do just one side of the tree. Usually people opt for the left side because it gives more offensive stats. The right side gives the defensive stats, and then you're done. Just like he's done for the Wilder tree, just on the left side. And this is how you can get both of these with 2 buff tiles as quickly as possible. However, Lightbearer is more of a boss mode, and for example in Supreme Arena, I don't think Lightbearer does as well. The Mauler is a more solid faction talent to be upgrading, because in Supreme Arena specifically, the Lightbearer heroes are just not the greatest option, and they're quite counterable. Like, I know it can get crazy if they ramp up and Rowan can keep casting, but in Supreme Arena, they don't allow you to do that because the opponent is going to have a lot of burst, and they're going to break through your Corrin or Rowan and kill them at the beginning of the fight. And that is the same problem with talent stages right now. But it's an incredibly cool combo, and I definitely think in this season there are going to be new game modes or areas where this Lightbearer double buff tile is going to be crazy, because you just saw how quickly everyone was able to cast their ultimate, thanks to Rowan buffing up the energy of everyone. And the second best team he has also is like way higher than I was expecting. Taylene and Lily May, both doing a lot of damage. We can quickly watch this replay. But I wanted to focus this whole video on the double buff tile Lightbearer comp, because I really expect there to be more like uses of this in the future, and it's just really cool and crazy when it can go off. So I think probably the reason why this comp does so well is Lily May and Taylene were already the top damage dealers for this boss, top sources of magical damage, and then he just has the best supporter for them, which is Mikola, considered to be the best support for boss fights, and then Rainier as well for increasing the damage the boss receives, and finally the Freesto, because then they have the Celestial Hypogean buff tile. I don't know how big of a role that plays right now. Probably not that much, because he hasn't even invested heavily into that tree. But in the future, that could make a big difference to damage output, and even for Supreme Arena. could be a good option. He's going for the Tide Caller spell. Tide Call spell is a great option because it has good stats. Haste is always good for your team to cast ultimates and skills faster, but also it has the inflict the debuff onto the opponent, causing them to deal reduced damage and take increased damage as well. Like, it puts a soak effect onto the opponent, and for 4 seconds they take 25% bonus damage, which is like another Rainier level of debuff, but it will only apply after casting 5 ultimates for right now. When we get it to plus 20 level, then you'll only need to cast 4 ultimates, and you will be able to activate the Tide Call spell, and then it will become stronger. But that makes me even think, what about Tide Call spell in the Lightbearer team? Because you're casting ultimates so frequently, you can maybe have permanent uptime of the soak effect on the boss. Because even here, you have a pretty good uptime of it, especially with the Freya-stores, because you have 2 heroes, and both of their ultimates will count for stacking up the meter of Tide Call spell. So that's how you can get it activated a bit more quickly with this team lineup. And then of course the haste from Mikola increases like the energy generation and casting of your ultimates to get the Tide Call spell off faster. But again, this is an incredibly powerful team. Another great option if you have these heroes for the Dethanial boss. And yeah, his final team is a Mauler team, which got around about 30 billion damage, which even then is still a very respectable score. That is pretty much near my top performing team right now. But compared to his other teams, actually over 30 billion. He got 43 billion with it. Oh, but it had Lenya. Yeah, Lenya with the resonating spell. Probably on the faction buff tile is usually how they run it. And then the other damage dealers like Shakir, Kruger, Reese, and Vala. Let's quickly watch this replay. We can watch it in 3 times speed. Okay, so yeah, Lenya up in the front along with Shakir's Lupine's aura. She's gonna get buffed up by that. Although she's in a position where the aura might not reach to her. Either way, Kruger is going to debuff the boss with the physical defense reduction, causing Lenya to deal more damage, and Vala to deal more damage, and Reese as well. Reese is, I think, probably here for like the factional synergy. He has decent damage output in bosses. Oh, and if he has his elite magic charms, his target will take bonus damage up to bonus 25% damage. So it's kind of like a version again of a Rainier debuff. If he has, yeah, he has elite magic charms. So this is probably the reason he was running Reese. Reese on his own doesn't deal that much damage, but increases target's damage taken by 15% for 8 seconds. Yeah, 25% was at the higher level, I think the mythic magic charm level. After dealing damage to that target 2 times, and it can be triggered every 10 seconds. Lenya did a massive amount of damage. Vala also did not do badly, especially considering the boss is above 50% health right now. And then Kruger just there for reducing the physical defense of the boss to have Lenya deal more damage, and Shakira to be in the front and buff up the Kruger, I guess. And Lenya potentially, if it can reach at some point of the battle. Okay, now let's again watch the Lightbearer team one more time. Because it's just, this is the craziest team. And let's see if we missed anything while watching it. So at the beginning, Elsa is in a position where she's a few tiles away from the rest of the team. So she's not going to get or be reached by the energy generation of Rowan at the beginning. But she's still casting very quickly because the energy threshold for her ultimate is only at 400 energy. But pretty soon, she is going to bounce into the middle of our team, which is where we want her to be. Because then also her ultimate's cast will account towards giving Corrin his true damage, because the allies need to be within 2 tiles from Corrin for that to take effect. Okay, now the whole team is grouped up. I guess when Corrin jumped over to shield the Elsa, then Elsa decided there's a free opening in the middle of the team, so she bounced over there. Attack and haste buff from Smokey. Yeah, there's no risk of dying with this team, but maybe if there was no Smokey here, then you could die, because you need some form of healing into Dethanial, even though he doesn't deal that much damage. Cassidy casting the ultimate. The other thing about Corrin's ultimate is it destroys the summons, as you saw right there. Just one shot. As soon as they spawned, he had the perfect timing of his ultimate, and they just went down immediately. And look at the speed of Elsa casting. Like, if we counted how many times Elsa's ultimated in this fight, it has to be like, it's 1 every 2 seconds or so. Probably like 40 ultimate casts this fight, just from Elsa alone. Each time she ultimates, it deals 190 million damage. Her total damage output is 10 billion. Yeah, it's probably close to 40 ultimate casts just from Elsa. Resonating spell is always usually the best choice on your key damage dealer. In this case, that was Corrin. In the Lenya team, it is Lenya, who wants to have that buff. I want to just pay attention to one thing very closely. When the damage burst comes off onto the boss, is it from the ultimate cast of Corrin, or is it from his normal attacks? So Corrin is ultimating right now. Shadow also ultimates. I think that's a pretty big damage boost. But then also now, the damage is ramping up. So Corrin has his ultimate cast. Yeah, I think the ultimate cast of Corrin might be the big boost. Combined with his true damage. Just so much damage from him. Yeah, crazy. This is an insane team. And it shows you like the power of the 2 Lightbearer buff tile to its full potential. Because the team survives the entire time. And they're all grouped up, getting the energy generation of the Rowan and the Shadow Rowan. Okay guys, that is going to be it for this video. Big thank you to Old Gamer for sharing these teams with us, because now we know which teams to lock in once we get the Lightbearer buff tiles upgraded. For me, I'm still leveling up the Mauler buff tiles, or like Mauler tree first, because it helps me in Supreme Arena, but I may reset it and go for Lightbearers after seeing this, because this is crazy. This is so cool. But anyway guys, that's going to be it for this video, and thank you for watching. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video, and until then everyone, peace out for now, and thank you for watching.